Today we are all talking about climate change. So when we talk about climate change, as our earlier speaker Edwin Kubai sir had pointed out in research methodology, there are two core areas. One is the domain knowledge, and one is he was hinting at what we call as interdisciplinary idea. So when we talk about climate change is approached from the perspective of the scientists, from social scientists, from economists, from agronomists, and from very different sets of researchers. So my whole point is that persons from each domain knowledge who are approaching it should deal with these particular aspects in their own way. So now we all heard about climate change, but we have not heard about Tibet. We have heard about the North Pole and the South Pole, but today we'll be talking about the third pole, or Tibet. So this is the issue of Tibet. So we have the dangers next, the state of the art. What is happening to Tibet? So the most visible face of Tibet is the 14th Dalai Lama, who has said that there is no need for any new research of Tibet. All energy should be concentrated on the environment. Whether we like it or not, we all share the earth, and have to live together. Then the other speakers said, other writers have written that the wars of the future will be water wars. And this is a great Himalayan watershed. So now we see people from all walks of life are talking about this climate change, which is very near to us in India. So similarly, we also have climate change in other parts of the world like Africa, then Sub-Saharan Africa, Australia, etc., which are more near, but we are only getting a more Western perspective. But these Western perspectives are having meaning, but only limited meaning. Okay, so now, if you see that water is a new issue in Tibetan headwaters as a problem for Asia. So water has become a new issue in IR, that is international relations. So here I'm taking some methods from international relations, from history, etc. Though this one also has many components on energy security, I'm not competent to do that. So the international relations agenda on Central and South Asia is more concerned with energy, ethnicity, politics, economy, and environment is always pushed to the background. So even today also you can hear politicians saying, oh, poor people, for them we can even destroy the environment. But they don't realize that it will be the danger in the long run. So here now water is becoming the most important issue than food crisis, and all these are related. So water scarcity will lead to religious extremism, political turmoil, and since the 2011 crisis in Syria, we have seen that is mainly because of the failed harvest of wheat. Now everything is there made in China. But now problem with made in China is that any item, whether it is software, hardware, or any other technical ware, consumes lot of water. And so this water of China is actually heating up the planet. And there is only one planet. There is no plan B, or there is no second planet. So water nationalism in China and water wars downstream. So now the present day wars, because China is exporting a lot to all parts of the world, particularly Southeast Asia, South Asia, then West Asia and Africa, and also Latin America. So all these countries are now actually purchasing goods from China. But what is the cost? The cost is all these water wars. Now, we talked about the first pole, the second pole, the North Pole and the South Pole. Actually, Tibet is known as the third pole because of the presence of 46,000 glaciers and hundreds of snow-capped mountains that feed 9 of the biggest Asian rivers. So we have Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Laos, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, and China. Together, these rivers feed people, and people in these countries constitute 49% of human population. But yet this issue is not there. So the basic point is that there are certain issues which are not represented, but how do these issues come up in the popular domain? So this is the main idea that we are forced to address. That is, it is a historical issue, but historiographically it is not there. How do you bring out this issue? So this is where my research on Tibet brought out the idea that though this is a well-known issue, but there is no writing on this issue. So this has led to direct threat perceptions to India, but as I have written, the threat is invisible. We only talk about military threat. So Tibet, as we all know, is a roof of the world. a high altitude ecosystem. We have, and it's a plateau. We have 8 major plateaus in the world, like the plateau of East Africa, the Tibetan plateau, the plateau in South America, then the Rockies and the plateaus in the western part of America, etc. So there's always, every year there is a conference of all the people residing in the plateaus, and school children go and present their findings there. And so from where I am in Hyderabad, it is known as the Deccan Plateau. So students from here had gone to Tibet. So now we have, in this whole situation of Tibet, China is expanding westward, building up new factories, etc. And then we also have nuclear arsenals, mining, because as we all know that the modern day, everything depends on batteries, whether it is mobile phones require lithium battery, or whether your computers require lithium batteries, or then your motorcycles and electric vehicles, all of them require lithium batteries, and they are available only in China and Tibet. And so for this, they also started the Lhasa railway line. And the worst is the changing the courses of the river. So this is another type of human induced climate change. So there are two types of both. All climate change is human induced, but some are taken centuries. So this is the map of Tibet. This is the hydrographic system. The map color is yellow. And then, but you see everywhere, you see blue, 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 because there are so many glaciers, 46,000, and then you have lots of water coming in Tibet. But now the sad story is that Tibet is blessed with water, but then this water has now become a curse for Tibet because other countries are very interested in this water. So this is the situation we'll see. There also, the minerals are there here. So we have gold, then we have lithium, and then we also have other important minerals like uranium, and then chromite. And then nuclear arsenals, you can see very clearly pointing southwards towards India and north towards Russia. In the west, it is empty because there are deserts. And this is a state of affairs. As I told you, we have only one Earth. And now this was a place where there was a glacier. And now it has become dried up and it has become a desert. And now what happens when Inner Asia or Central Asia, which was covered with snow, becomes a desert? When it becomes a desert, there is no grass, and then the sand keeps blowing, and the sand flow is taken away by the wind to as far as Korea, Japan, and also as far as Australia and New Zealand. We have two major sandstorms in the world carried by wind. One is the transatlantic movement of sand from Africa to Latin America, and the other one is from Central Asia to as far as Oceania. But this sand which is going from Central Asia is also taking a lot of pollutants from China, and these pollutants in the air include small pieces of metal, and that will go into the waters and become rust and kill the coral reefs. So human beings, we all know, depend on water, and the glaciers are the source of water. This is a picture we are getting from the satellite imagery of the Halong Glacier, which was there in 1981. And then now you see in 2005, what is the state of the glacier? So it has almost collapsed. Now, this is a source of dust storms in Beijing. Even the Great Wall is unable to prevent the dust storms in Beijing. And so when we had the Olympics, we had to have helicopters spraying water from the top to see that the storms are stopped, and artificial seeding of rain was done. So now we see in the final analysis, Tibetan rivers feed Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Laos, parts of Southeast Asia and China. 34% of all Indian rivers originate from Tibet. The 5 rivers of Indus, then Brahmaputra, Irrawaddy, Mekong and Salween, and then the Yellow River of China. But the Tibetan issue is not the issue of just 6 million Tibetans, but 49% of the human population. So my point is that, like these many issues which will be there in your country or your region or your area of concern, which have not come up as of now. And how are these issues going to be resolved? So we need methods to unearth these issues. So in a globalizing world, Google has become the prophet. But then what China has managed is that it has managed to block news about Tibet, and even multinational companies like Google are party to this. So for China, they said that Tibetan waters will save China. This was a statement issued in 2005. So most of the food you eat in the world comes from China, a large amount of it, and that is the Tibet you eat. Like most of the grains, fruits, etc. China is one of the next exporters of most of the grains, fruits, and other nuts, and it all comes from the water which has come from Tibet. That is the Tibet we eat. And then the Tibet we use, mobile phones, then many other hardware devices which are connected to computers, etc. All these are based on minerals which are there in Tibet. And now dam building. So a very interesting point about dam building is that China has built almost one dam a day. So from 1949 till date, it has built more than one dam a day. And so it is having the largest amount of dams in the world. And USA, which is second, is only a very, very distant second. So you can see this map of China, and you can see the whole the map is stuffed with dots, red dots, indicating dams. Wherever they can build, they build a dam. So now this has led to a lot of changes in the world. That is, seismic changes are there, changes in the water flow, etc., etc. And so this has also led to, if you see in the second map, there are a lot of red colors there, red and yellow, which shows that there are a lot of seismic hazards, means earthquakes are possible, and then there are flash floods. So in India, downstream in Himachal Pradesh and Arunachal Pradesh, we get a lot of flat floods. And the worst now is that what China is going to do is that since there is a hunger in China for both agriculture and industry, and China means is there present in every home, you have China in the form of different goods. And so what happens is that now for all this water is needed. And so China is now trying to actually change the course of many of the rivers. So you can see here in this map near the number 11, Brahmaputra, which is the most important river in Northeast India and Bangladesh. Without Brahmaputra and Ganga, there is no Bangladesh. So what is going to happen is that China wants to change the course of this river by building a series of dams. Not only that, it will connect the Salween and the Mekong River. And so the entire Southeast Asia, right from Northeast India to Southeast Asia, which used to be water rich, will suddenly become water poor. So, and then the silt also will not be there. So the soil will also become less fertile. So with less water, what will happen is this food security will not be there in countries from Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Nepal, and all these regions. And this will lead to a lot of law and order problems. And Bangladesh, as we know, has a lot of problems which are spilling over to the neighbors, India. There is instability in Pakistan and mainland Southeast Asia. So the Tibetan rivers are a problem not only for Tibet, which is colonized by China, but also for the entire humanity, because 49% of the human population depends on it. So what Asia needs is the institutionalized water cooperation, because it awaits a future that is made hotter and drier by climate and environmental change and resource depletion. So we need to policy lobbying for a virtual water index based on water footprint on all products and add environment tax. So transnational sustainable water policy needs to be put in place urgently. In the Himalayan watershed game, there are no winners or losers. So the connection with development, less water in India in the form of declining inflows, drought, famine, agrarian distress, lesser availability of water, lower water table, and then what will happen? People will fight. But there is a ray of hope. Mainstream science said that you cannot build glaciers, but then there is a person in Ladakh known as Sevang Norfel. He is known as the Iceman, and he has built small dams and also rejuvenated glaciers. He has built artificial glaciers. So one day while coming from home, he saw that the water which is dripping from the tap is slowly it is dripping has become ice. And it was his idea as a retired civil engineer. So thank you. And this is the map of Tibet. If you see this map, you can appreciate the problem. Tibet is the roof of the world. So you see suddenly how everything rises in the map. So as the roof of the world, it is a high altitude, fragile ecosystem. So with this,